What a terrible thing to recognize that your betterment was an illusion. That you are so infatuated by the virtue of struggling that despite all your hard work, you made no real efforts to ever become well. Or that the treatment becomes such an obsession that instead of letting your wounds heal over time, you tear at the flesh in the hope that it will heal better and faster, if only it would bleed in the way you wanted. Do we ever become well? What do you think, Dr. Gray?
Dr. Gray was somehow mixed up in this business with the Dark Man, Detective Carnby decided. He had to be. Either Dr. Gray was using the idea of the Dark Man to manipulate and torture Jeremy, or the Dark Man was an actual powerful being possessing Jeremy. And in that case, Dr. Gray was simply a stooge. Maybe both could be true at once. Carnby felt his mind racing in all directions. No matter what, he had to find a way to break the pact. That was what Jeremy said was needed. It didn't even matter what was true or not. If Jeremy wouldn't leave Derceto before the contract was broken, then Carnby had to make it happen. He just wished the steps on the contract made a little more sense.
Dr. Gray's office, all to myself. Let's see if we can figure this guy out.
This is where McCarthy has hidden my favorite young. It's very important.
I have finished tidying up Miss Beauregard's belongings. I will leave it to you to contact her agent and have them collect her things. I found one of Grace's drawings she might want back, along with this key in her room, which I believe you've been looking for, Mrs. Thompson.
Dearest Dr. Manzetti, I find myself in a losing battle with my patient. As I've disclosed in my previous letter, his delusions have him completely captured. It's bad enough that he is torturing himself with paranoia, but his madness turns out to be quite persuasive to others, effectively laying the ground for mass delusion. I am writing to you in hope that you can give me some guidance. Beyond my ambition to avoid devastating surgery on my patient, I have grown worried about my own defenses. The words of my patient are deranged, yet they often resonate with something primitive within me. I have tried photographing his brain with X-rays. It was surprisingly difficult to get good results. Dark blotches on the plates kept obscuring all details. My patient looked at the bad plates and cried out in terror, telling me the dark areas was the shadow of the worm, eating him from inside. I could not see anything out of the ordinary. I hope this is a sign that my mind is not as receptive to the madness as I had feared. After further inquiry, my patient described the shadows inside his mind as some kind of chthonic monstrosity that wants to undermine his sanctuary. This is clearly a reference to a place he calls Teroea, a sort of library or convent that works as a psychological haven. With this imaginary haven threatened by this Chthonian, he has now constructed another, less pleasant hiding spot. Lately, he has been bringing up a metaphor of a steamboat that has run aground. that he feels like he needs to start the engines and reverse, but he is afraid that the hole in the hull would cause the whole ship to sink. I've been watching him turn this metaphor into reality for the last week. He knows it's made up, but he is doubling down, trying to make it a real memory. I feel certain that this is my chance to break through the barriers of his self-deceit.
Take this much more. This has to end.
Edward had heard the whispers for years. When he lived in Brooklyn, it was only on rare occasions, like when he as a child climbed that tall tree in Central Park, or when he almost drowned in the Hudson River, trying to save his despaired mother. The whispers became more common as he moved to New Orleans, but still rare enough to be ignored. Now as he walks the halls of Derceto, he knows what is calling him. He doesn't want to admit it, but the dark young in the conservatory is telling him to sacrifice the cabris and corn. Derceto stands on a breeding ground for the grotesque, a temple devoted to rebellious growth, the most ugly and cancerous side of nature. You may be able to shield your psyche for a while, but rest assured your soul will come to pray to that hideous god in time. That is the story of every man and woman who gather around that ancient arbor. They all croak, bark, and bleat because their own bodies are afraid and they wish to repel the evil those words conjure. Iya! Iya! Instead of that blasphemous name, they gossip in hushed whispers the name of Derceto, Astarte, and the black goat of the woods.
I need the key.
Hypothetical psychosurgery based on the ideas by Burckhardt and the St. Petersburg research could end up saving Jeremy's mind. Severing the connections around the frontal lobe would certainly solve most mental afflictions. The procedure would be brutal in performance, as well as in efficiency. An ice pick pushed through the edge of the eye and into the skull would untether the nerves like Alexander cutting the Gordian knot. As this would likely leave Jeremy in a very different condition, all other paths should first be explored. The medical instrument I would need for this lobotomy is missing, and I should have Waits order a new one. Radiography. Patient Jeremy Hotwood. Date June 14, 1930. Plates. Jeremy's skull proved difficult to capture properly. Partial radiographs worked best. A complete picture of the brain can be assembled by piecing 3 plates together. Observations. Even when looking at an assembled version, a shadow covers significant parts of Jeremy's brain. Possible tumor, but more likely that the equipment is failing. Jeremy reacted strongly to the pictures and claimed to see a giant clay worm eating and displacing his memories. Notes. While this exercise has left me nowhere closer to an answer, I feel confident that a Burckhardt lobotomy should sever all necessary parts.
Mind if I do? That's better.
Dr. Gray had been putting Jeremy through some thorough medical investigation. He was trying to break through Jeremy's stories and get to some truth, just like Carnby was. Could Dr. Gray have been trying to break the contract as well?
Why does this keep happening? What am I supposed to do?
And we're back here. Well, perfect time to have a look around this place. What is that? This is where Jeremy's hiding, right?
Hello? Is anyone there?
Jeremy?
I need help!
Wait. Can you hear me?
I'm stuck in the mud and the fire is taking
Jeremy.
me.
Where are you?
The motor is dead. I can't do anything more.
Hang on, Jeremy. I'll figure something out. I'll get the boat running.
Carnby entered some new, mucky dreamland of Jeremy's, a long-abandoned steamboat aground in the bayou. Jeremy was calling out for help, but Carnby couldn't figure out where the voice was coming from. For a moment, Carnby wondered if the boat itself was Jeremy, or if he was below it somehow. It didn't matter right now. Jeremy was clear on one thing. He wanted Carnby to get the steamboat running and out of the mud.
boat's wedged itself right into the bayou. If I get the motor started, I could try reversing back into the river.
The artist spent a lot of time boating on the vast Lake Pontchartrain. Poetry, painting, photography, everything seemed to become better by the shimmering water and the opalescent sky. One night, as the sailors returned to Derceto, they found a masquerade ball taking place. It must have been Perosi and Nora who invited their friends from the theater. The sailors quickly fashioned masks out of plaster of Paris and joined the festivities. They enjoyed themselves for hours before realizing time was not passing, nor could they find their friends. As they began to worry, they demanded that the guests unmasked, but they could not, because they were not wearing any masks.
Jeremy, where are you?
The winch is powered by electricity. I need to find a way to turn it on before I can use it. Looks pretty weak. I just need something to break it. This definitely needs fuel.
Whoa!
We need to move on our track. Are you ready to tell me what happened in the attic? I put a rope around my neck, and then I strangled all life from my body. Are you under the impression that you died? Yes. No. I was supposed to die.
What does that mean? That you were supposed to die?
I'm the catalyst. I had to die to make the story happen.
What story? What are you referring to, Jeremy?
30 years ago, Frederic needed me to die.
You're not making any sense, Jeremy. Come back. Find your focus.
Hey!
I cheated everyone. I didn't play my part.
Hey!
I escaped
Hey!
my doom, my destiny.
Again, find
Hey!
your focus.
Hey, I'm right here. What the hell is going on?
Now everything is wrong. Nothing is in
Hey!
place.
I'm right here!
Calm down, Mr. Carnby. What do you want?
Were you not talking to Jeremy right now?
I haven't seen Jeremy all day. Are you all right, Detective?
No. Actually, I don't think so. Well, maybe. I'm gonna go look for Jeremy.
Good. Let me know if you find him.
That was Jeremy's self-deceit, a steam...
The steamboat was a hideaway that Jeremy had built over the last few days. Having seen his memories extracted and expanded into physical realms by the Dark Man, his unconscious mind had decided to take the chance that Jeremy could manifest a world in secret. A world that wasn't sanctioned by the Dark Man. Deploying his own self-deceit as a gambit against his Dark Master.
Stuck in the mud? I'm not gonna pretend I understand any of that. What a bunch of psychoanalytic nonsense.
It wasn't clear to Detective Carnby that he had actually accomplished anything, but he had the distinct feeling that he was making progress. The steamboat must have been what the self-deceit was referring to, and clearly the business with Grace was psychological trauma. Out of the 3 steps on the Dark Man's contract, only one thing seemed to remain: tempomanic behavior. Carnby was getting sick of guessing. It was time to pay Dr. Gray a visit in his apartment. It wasn't clear to Detective Carnby that he had actually accomplished anything, but he had the distinct feeling that he...
Emily didn't understand what was happening. It was funny when all the blood started coming.
What is it?
Detective, am I glad to see you. Lock the door, will you? I don't think Dr. Gray would appreciate us snooping around.
What's going on here? This feels so strange.
Detective Carnby felt removed from himself. Like driving drunk, he carefully tried to navigate his environment. What the hell was going on? Was he finally losing his mind? At least Emily was here to call the police if he went off the deep end.
Have you found anything?
What? Yeah, I've seen some things.
Okay. Let me know if there is anything you want to talk about.
Okay. There's a book missing.
What did you do?
I was just rearranging the books.
Well, come on, let's check it out. I think I'm beginning to understand. Dr. Gray is dealing with some kind of mass delusion.
Huh. Has that been there this whole time? What were you saying about mass delusion?
Derceto seems to have a deranging effect on people living close by. It has a history of creating cults devoted to some nature goddess. Even the name Derceto refers to the cult existing here before the Civil War. Derceto was the name of an ancient fertility goddess worshipped in Syria. Dr. Gray and his friends, however, seem to prefer the black goat of the woods with 1,000 young, or Shub-Nigroth. And that name can only have come from my uncle's twisted mind.
That mark on the floor looks like talisman positions, but from which direction should I look at it?
Good to finally meet you, Mr. Hartwood. I'm here on the behalf of your brother Philip. You were expecting me, weren't you?
Yes, you're from Derceto, no?
That's right. I just wanted to ask you a few questions to see if there is anything I can do to help you and your family.
Okay.
I understand you're full of imagination. You make up a lot of things.
I suppose.
And you obsess over them, blurring reality and fiction.
Sometimes.
Do you want to tell me about the Dark Man?
No, I don't.
That's all right. Perhaps there is something else you can tell me. Something you know to be made up, but you hold dear.
Juan?
John? Who's John?
No, Juan Luis Jorge. Oh, wait there a moment. Here, take a look.
Is he... Oh, he is the author.
It's a magnificent book. Life-changing even. The real Juan is long dead, but I like to think of him as my friend.
My most beloved friend.
I see. Do you often do this? Fantasize about people you read about?
No. Well, there is Jacob.
Who is Jacob?
Turn to the last page.
Oh, it's a newspaper article. The Prisoner of Ice, Jacob van Ostad. Is he also your beloved friend?
Oh no, Doctor. Not at all. He is the fire that fights fire.
Yes, I think it's clear your overstimulated imagination, this mania, needs to be tempered for you to live a normal life. I know your family calls it the Heartwood Curse, but I want you to know that there is nothing supernatural about your condition. It's all inside your head. And with that, I'm very qualified to deal with. In time, you will be cured.
In time.
Yes, in time we will exorcise all your demons, all the dark men.
Yeah!
Please, Mr. Heartwood, calm yourself.
What happened?
Oh, don't you worry your little head about it, Miss Heartwood. Your uncle and I just had our first breakthrough.
The Snake Dagger, a monograph by Yael Klein. In Ludwig Prin's book on pagan rituals called The Mystery of the Grave, as translated by Nicholas Vachy, there are several references to a sacrificial dagger called the Snake Dagger. It has long been thought of as a poor translation of the original text, that it would be more appropriate with worm dagger from the Latin vermis cultrum. This seems natural following the recent consensus that the original title of Prin's book, De Vermis Mysteris, should literally translate to the mystery of the worm. However, this would take away from Vachy's great effort at translating the underlying meaning of the words and revealing several cultural beliefs. While Prin certainly was using the term worm as a symbol or synecdoche for death and the dead, which is made clear by the contents of the book, in the case of the dagger, we shouldn't be too hasty to dismiss his translation. Reading through Vachy's correspondence with his patron, it appears that he had more than just the Latin text at his disposal. Vachy had dug up Prin's living relatives and uncovered several cross-referenced historical texts and an actual snake dagger. The dagger was dated to the early Middle Kingdom of Egypt and had such a clear shape of a wave that Vachy considered calling it the sinusoidal blade. Knowing the full story, it seems prudent that he chose to translate it as snake and not worm. There are several reasons why this choice of word helps us understand the pagans that Prin's book attempts to describe. The symbolic value of the shape becomes more apparent when reading about the use for the dagger. In the passage of possession and exorcism, we find the snake dagger poisons the poisoner within the victim and is therefore pacified. Where the literal text would tell us that the worm dagger trumps the demon possessing the victim, it tells us nothing of their reasoning, only that somehow this dagger wins against the demon, like it had the better hand in poker. Vachy's translation allows us to follow the underlying logic to the ritual magic that is being performed. Poison the poisoner sounds like fighting fire with fire. That to hurt the demon possessing its victim, the priests would have to fight back with a power that is known to the evil they are fighting. The snake dagger is therefore not only a good way to describe its form, but it also helps us understand how it could be thought of as a useful tool for exorcism. Finally, it also helps us understand their relationship to lunacy, that it was thought of as something poisoning the mind rather than controlling it. What is also interesting to note is that the possessed are always considered poisoned in their head and not their heart. the snake dagger always went to the eye of the possessed, leaving them partially blind, if they had the good luck to survive.
Hello?
Detective Carnby?
Who is this? Jeremy?
Jeremy is with the Dark Man. You can't save him.
Well, I've done everything you wanted so far, and there's just one more thing on the list. I expect him to keep his promise and return Jeremy unharmed.
Get out, Detective, while you still can.
Detective Carnby wanted nothing more than to make sense of it all. But clearly, that was not in the cards right now.
You think all of them are in this cult business? Even Jeremy?
I'm not sure any of them have a choice at this point. We just need to find a way to stop all of this. You okay? You look a little frazzled.
Just stupid telephone.
I know. I tried calling the police earlier. The telephone is completely dead.
It's not... Yeah, no, the telephone isn't working.
Detective Carnby was worried Emily could tell, that she could see the madness written on his face. But what if he was the only one seeing the truth? Could that still be the case? If only he could find evidence that would make her understand that he had seen beyond the veil, or at least something that would show her he was worth the money she was paying him.
Miss Hartwood, I think you're gonna want to see this.
Is there something in the closet?
Yeah, there is. You don't see the very obvious gate leading to whatever Jeremy's madness is serving up next?
I don't understand. Are you making some kind of fashion metaphor? I'm sorry, I don't have time for this. Can you just tell me what you're doing?
You don't see this! It's fine. It's fine. Catch you later.
Are you going inside the closet?
Yeah. You got a problem with that?
No. Do what you think is right, Detective.
Sorry, I didn't mean to. Goodbye, Miss Hartwood.
Disheartened by his failure to make Emily understand what he was doing, Detective Carnby actually felt better seeing the frozen hell before him. There was a finality to it. Its clear symbolic opposite to the dark man's desert made him realize this was the end. Soon it would all be over.
What can be said about Jacob van Ostad without evoking contempt or apologia? The first piece of information is the obvious. He is not the explorer Jeremy idolized in his youth, but the figment of his imagination. If you want biographical facts, I am not the one to answer such questions. In the case of Jeremy, he is a guardian of imagination, or rather a persona appointed the role of containing a self-sabotaging mania. However useful Jacob once was, his loyalty to Jeremy has slowly been replaced by fanaticism. Like a firekeeper who has for decades been burnt by his own sacred flames, now does what he imagines the fire wants. Jeremy has lost all control over Jacob and suffers greatly because of him, but is admittedly also still invigorated by his labor. In the plainest of words, Jacob keeps Jeremy sick so he can remain Jeremy.
We found the ancient stellarium perched on a cliff facing the Arctic Ocean after a day of sailing due north of the Eskimo encampment. Jacob van Ostad was our most keen member of the expedition. He had been chasing down the source of a peculiar type of crystallized metal present in several sacred items among the natives on the northeast coast of Greenland. The site was a remarkable find for any explorer, and we were all enraptured in our search for enlightenment and meaning. The surviving architecture seemed almost unearthly in origin and astonishingly sophisticated. The metal Jacob was searching for was abundant, almost ubiquitous. We were so taken by our find that we were surprised by the sun falling below the horizon. As we quickly picked up our gear, ready to head back to our camp, Jacob van Ostad declared that he wanted to stay. He was adamant. We begged him to reconsider. The night would be getting colder by the hour, and we feared for all our safety. Jacob refused, threatening us with violence if we wouldn't leave him alone. As the snowfall turned heavier, we left him there on his own. The next day, the weather became worse, and we had to spend hours enforcing our shelter as our tents became increasingly useless. The group had written off Jacob, thinking he must be dead. I had an urge to make one final attempt to save him, so I headed out as darkness fell with a handful of flares and headed toward the coast and up the climb, towards the stellarium. That's when I saw him, transfixed by a burning sky, that celestial lantern. Jacob keeled over and let out a painful shriek that struck me with such fear and pity. He was crying in agony, for the cold weather had ravaged his flesh. I called out to him, and he turned to face me. His vacant stare held me in place like a needle through a butterfly, and he said, "You must leave now, Ashtan. Go, and never come back." And so I left.
Hey, you! What are you doing here? What is this place?
Turn back, detective. You're not wanted here.
Whoa, take it easy. I'm not your enemy.
Oh, you're wrong, detective. You're wrong.
Whoa. Of course, the Taurus. I figured you wouldn't want your stars aligned, Jeremy, or maybe that is what you need to temper that mania of yours.
I did everything! Aren't you happy? Stupid charlatan! What more do you want from me? You want me to lose my mind?
Oh, my lord! Doctor! Baptiste! Quick!
Jesus. What were you thinking, Carnby?